Okay, I want to paint a picture inside your heads. Imagine you're in Sadr, Karachi, maybe Rawalpindi, maybe somewhere in Jhelum, and you're in a overheated shop. Inside this shop, you see an uncle, a shopkeeper. He is staring back at you, and behind him there's a desk. What does that desk include? What does that desk have? It's full of secrets, we know that, but what does it have? Secrets. Weapons? No, God forbid. Drugs? No. Instead, he had discs, CDs, DVDs, movies, games, I don't know, whatever you could think of. But that was the secret behind that desk. That was a gateway. That shopkeeper, he wasn't just a shopkeeper to us. A he was a seller and a guide. He was a guide to us kids, to us. Oh, there it is. He was a Yep. He was a guide to us kids, us teens, us kids. This was just a second. Us tinkerers, we took what we could get. This was a world that we were not supposed to have access to. We took what we could get, and we built. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mohammed Abdullah. I'm in my third year of software engineering. This is a talk about a subculture, a forgotten subculture that isn't talked about. It is often dismissed, and you know what? I'm gonna bring you back to the 2000s, the early 2000s, maybe a little bit near the 2010s. Back in Pakistan, it was a dark age. The internet was slow, the hardware was expensive, software licenses, they were almost mythical. The idea of even capturing a license for your software was almost laughable. Well, there was no Cash App, no PayPal. Pakistan was almost exclusively kind of shunned out from the um, global what was it community in terms of internet infrastructure. And this wasn't exactly an exclusively Pakistani problem. It was a problem pertaining to many countries. A lot of countries were behind on tech infrastructure. A lot of countries were not exactly up to date. So what exactly did Pakistanis do? How did we solve this problem? How did we conquer this exact issue? Well, instead of waiting for access, instead of going to Google, instead of waiting for Google to do their thing, we sort of paved our own path. We didn't wait for access. We created our own. We burned discs. We burned CDs. We burned anything that we could get our hands on. We took USBs. We took this opportunity to share. One of my earliest memories in school, for some reason, was in a computer lab where some kid just brought in a copy of Photoshop, and that was my introduction to the first features that I could ever learn about Photoshop. But the point wasn't about piracy. The point wasn't about how we could get our hands in these software. The point was innovation and progress. It was getting our creative juices, and it was getting the opportunity to make what we could from this opportunity. The culture, a subculture was forming, and it was evident, and it was loud, it was maintaining, and before we knew it, we had kids. We had kids in videos, and we had kids in setting up Sony Vegas and creating and editing these wedding videos. That kid that I mentioned that showed up with a copy of Photoshop 7, जो उसकी भाई ने ढूंढ के दी थी, by the way, and that kid later on was developing logos and other kinds of graphic design for a client that he later referred me to, but thanks, Caleb. And my first introduction and my first development into game development was through Game Maker's Toolkit 8.1. I didn't know there was that many, which was also not pirated because that was a light version of Game Maker that came with my laptop. That was my first involvement into game development. It was my first issue, but the light version also had a lot of limitations, just like the accessibility to Pakistan's own limits. And what it taught me not to give up. taught me to stay stuck and get my ideas through some way or another. And I made so many, so many games that I shared with my friends, that I shared with my people, that I shared with my family. And the point of all of it is that that was our benchmark. No amount of limits, no amount of progress, no amount of anything stopped us from sharing. We didn't hoard. We zipped files. We burned CDs. My mom, just last time I was talking to her, she used floppy disks to send Word documents to her friends. Who knows what was in those Word documents? But and someone mentioned they use Facebook groups. I didn't usually use that, but the point is the support was our benchmark, not success. The support that we gave each other, the support that we were adamant on giving each other was the benchmark. This subculture didn't even stop. It evolved. It stays. Go to city center right now. You're gonna find a bunch of tech stores that run by the same Pakistani people. Still learning, passing information. See them still give the same amount of attitude that was present in the early 2000s. I'm in my third year of software. Premiere Pro is burned into my retinas. I've bought, and all of this is possible because I decided to go to a store as a kid and buy a Windows 10 CD, which was also not pirated because that was an unlicensed version of Windows 10 PC. And to top it off, this talk isn't about me. It's about a community. It's a forgotten, often dismissed, sometimes illegal, but a completely undeniable community, one that didn't ask for permission. It just decided to boot up no matter what. We weren't supposed to be in tech. We weren't supposed to have access. This wasn't piracy. It was participation. We didn't ask for permission. I say it again. We booted up. We made something real. We made something positive. We made something that was unapologetically ours. This talk, this opportunity, this entire thing belongs to that shopkeeper who gave me that Windows 10 disk, even though I paid for it. It belongs to my friends who kept on nagging me about everything that they found out that week. It belongs to the knowledge I gained. It belongs to my grandpa, who got a little angry whenever I used his computer. It belongs to Temur Bhai, who I used to sit down next to and watch him install whatever mystery CD he brought in that week. And occasionally you might hear him say, "Yeah, ye kaam hi nahi kar rahi." And you know what? I want to do a tiny experiment. I want to see if this is even, that's how it's supposed to be. I want to see a raise of hands. Who here is Pakistani? I can't see. Okay. Who here is Pakistani? No, keep your hands raised. Okay. Now, keep your hands raised if you recognize, if you recognize this screen. You know what? It's best if we keep this to ourselves. This little subculture. I'm not gonna explain this thing. It's best if we keep. Thank you. That was my talk.